In this video you're gonna learn how to animate iPhone calendar. This is gonna be perfect especially if you want to have a customizable asset, meaning that you're gonna be able to change everything like the date, the tasks and the colors. So if you wanna have this asset in your library and just grab it whenever you need, then this video is for you. So that being said, let's get straight into Adobe After Effects. Alright, so we're back in software here at the comp settings 1080 by 1920. I'll hit OK. And the first thing you wanna do is grab the round rectangle tool. And we're just gonna create a shape like that. So make sure to hold shift and then recenter, and we're gonna probably round it up a bit. Then I'm gonna rename the layer to frame, and we're also gonna grab the type tool, and you wanna type in any day of the week. I'm gonna go for Wednesday, and then as for this text, I'm gonna use Montserrat semi-bold so you can copy the exact same font. And then our goal is to have the first three letters right in the middle over here. So in order to do so, I'm gonna open up proportional grid, and I'm just gonna recenter it like that. And then what you want to do is make sure that you got the orange color set. Something like that should do. I'm going to hit OK. And then as for this text, you want to look for the effect called typewriter. You just want to apply it. Then I'm going to hit U. And we're going to get the typewriting effect. And what you want to do next is make sure that the playhead is right at this position whenever you see only the first three letters. So I'm going to create a keyframe over here. I'm going to delete the first one. And I'll move these two to the right. We're gonna focus on these two later on. Now we're gonna create another text. So I'm gonna deselect everything and I'm gonna grab the type tool again and I'll type in 1. Now as for this text, we're just gonna change the font to Open Sans. Open Sans Light is fine. And then we're gonna change the color to something black or grayish. Let's hit OK. And also we wanna have a bigger number over here so we can mess around with the font size. Let's recenter. And I'm gonna probably use proportional grid again just to see. Yeah, we might wanna put it like that. Also, I feel like we could make it a bit bigger. You can always mess around with this if something is off. It's good to do it now before we add any keyframes. Alright, so now what you want to do is make sure to parent these two texts to our frame. So just grab the pick whip and just attach it to the frame. Now we're going to need to keyframe some values. So I'm going to select frame and I'm going to keyframe size. Then you want to select these two layers and we're going to keyframe position and also scale. Now if I move forward, we want to expand the rectangle with the size. And we're gonna move our text to the left. Also, we're gonna scale it down. You kind of want to have it in the left upper corner. And then we're gonna do the same with this. Let's make it smaller. The adjustment. So that's what you should have. And now we're gonna select all keyframes, hit F9 in order to ease these, and we're gonna go to the graph editor. And now here you wanna create a peak in the middle. So you just wanna drag the yellow dot to the right and the other yellow dot to the left. Okay, starts to look pretty cool. And now we can actually focus on our two keyframes that we put to the right. So we're just gonna drag them back over here. And we kind of wanna expand that word whenever the rectangle is expanding. So I'm gonna squeeze it in. And it starts to look pretty cool. I'm just gonna work on the timing a bit. Once we got this, we wanna create a task. So for this, we're gonna make sure that we're around here. And I'm gonna grab the pen tool and I'll create a straight line right below the number. Right, probably something like that should do. And then make sure fill is turned off and stroke is on. We can also round the cap. And then what you want to do with that layer selected is creating a rectangle. So we're just going to grab the round rectangle tool and we're going to create a shape like that. Alright, here we need to do the opposite job. So I'm going to turn off stroke and I'll turn on fill color. And we're also going to borrow the color from here. So I'm going to click here, copy the hex code and then hit OK. Now I'm going to get back to our rectangle. And here in the fill, we're just gonna paste it. Then I'm gonna make sure this layer is selected again. I'm gonna click on the rectangle and I'll definitely change the roundness a bit. Also, as for this, we wanna turn down the opacity to around 50%. So that's what you should have. Now we can mess around with the values a bit. So I'm gonna uncheck constraint proportions. I'll decrease it a bit. Probably now expand the Y. It's a little uneven on both sides, so you can always go to the align panel and just hit this. Now we're gonna call it task 1. Alright, so now we're gonna create the text in our task. So I'm just gonna grab the type tool again and let's type in gym. I'm gonna make sure it's somewhere here. I'm gonna recenter the anchor point and also we're gonna pick the color of that line over here. Also, I got a feeling like that rectangle is a bit too intense, so we can click on the task 1, go to rectangle 1, and we're gonna probably turn down the opacity to 25. Yeah, that should do. Now we can duplicate that text, drop it lower, and here we're gonna type in the time. So let's type in 4 to 5 p.m. I'm gonna definitely scale it down with the help of font size over here. And as for this text, we're gonna make it thinner by changing the font style to regular, maybe even smaller. That's what you should have. And now around this time when the rectangle is expanding, we're gonna trim these 3 layers, maybe even here. Then what I'm gonna do is make sure these 2 texts are parented to the task 1, and we're gonna create a keyframe for position, move it forward a bit, go to the beginning, and we're gonna drag it lower. Alright, so we should have something like that. And now what we're gonna do is add an expression in order to have that bouncy movement. So just head over to the comment, copy the expression, and then you need to alt click the stopwatch over here. So now I'm gonna paste it and click away. And that way it's gonna get bouncy, and we can make it more intense by squeezing in the keyframes. Also, you might wanna work on the timing a bit, so I'm gonna offset it. Now what you wanna do is select these 3 layers starting from the upper one. So just click this, hold shift, click on the task 1, and then hit Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Now if I hit P for that layer, you wanna have the playhead on one of the keyframes. If you just select these 2 now, you're gonna be able to move the entire position lower. So we're gonna be moving the position of that keyframe and that one as well. Alright, something like that should do. And then we're gonna need to change the task into something else. So we're gonna type in work. I'm gonna adjust the position a bit. And then this needs to have a different time. So we're just gonna type in 5 to 9 p.m. Now we need to change the color for this whole thing. So we're just gonna select task 2, go to shape 1, and we're gonna go into the purple color over here, and we're gonna change it into something bluish. Alright, something like that should do. I'm gonna copy the hex code. I'm gonna hit OK, and then in rectangle 1 we wanna go to the fill color, and we're gonna paste that hex code. Let's hit OK, and then we're gonna change the color for the text, so select these 2, and then select the color, and we're gonna paste the hex code. Let's hit OK, and then we need to make sure that these 2 tasks are popping one by one, so select these 3, and offset them by a couple of frames. Alright, we're gonna leave it at that. So now we wanna add a little bit of shake to the entire thing. So in order to do so, I'm gonna right click, go to new object, and let's rename it to flick. Now we want to make sure to parent everything apart from the things that are already parented. So I'm going to select task 2, then hold Ctrl, click on the task 1, and also on the frame. Now with the pick whip, I'm going to parent it to the flick. And here what we're going to do is hit P for position, create a keyframe, move forward, and we're just going to drag the Y upwards. So that's what we have, and we're also going to add that bouncy effect. But first we're going to keyframe rotation in our flick, just like that, and we're going to move somewhere here. Then I'm going to change it a bit towards the left. I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to turn it back to 0. Alright, so that's what you should have. And now what we need to do is add the expression. So we can go to the position in task 2, open it up, copy the expression, and now hold Alt, click on rotation, paste it here, and do the same for position in our flick. Let's see now. Alright, a bit better. I'm gonna hit U for the flick. And here I wanna adjust it a bit, so we're gonna make it more intense by squeezing in the keyframes. And also I'm gonna select the first 2 rotation keyframes, and I'll hit F9. Now as for the last keyframe, I'm gonna move it back, and this starts to look nice. We just need to time it properly. Okay, and then I'm gonna take that keyframe and move it backwards. Right, looks nice. I'm gonna make sure to turn on the motion blur to see how it's gonna look. So this movement is pretty much set, but we need to also take care of the beginning because we don't really have anything over here. So I'm gonna hit P for the frame, and I'll create a keyframe. Now let's move it forward somewhere here, and we're gonna probably move it towards the right. And also here we're gonna add that expression. So I'm gonna alt click the stopwatch and paste the expression, then click away. Alright, this looks good, but I feel like there's too much space over here. It goes on for a bit too long. So what we're gonna do is select these 2 keyframes. I'm gonna move them forward. And then what we want to do is just select these 4, trim them, then select everything and move it to the beginning. Right, as for the last thing, we need to fade it in, but also what I'm gonna do is make sure to go to modes, and I'll select everything apart from the frame and also the flick. And I'm gonna take the pick whip from the track mat and I'll parent it to the frame. Then make sure to enable the frame again, and then we're gonna control opacity only with the frame. So I'm gonna hit Alt-Shift-T in order to create opacity keyframe. And I'll go back and I'll set it to 0%. So that way also that text over here and that number 1 is fading in together with the frame. We can also hit F9 for these 2. And then we can close the animation over here. So I'm gonna copy, paste, and then right click, keyframe assistant, and time reverse keyframes. And then here you have it how it looks on the reel. Then we're gonna add zoom in effect. And that way you got the animation that is pretty much customizable. All you need to do is just change the task, change the date, change the colors, or add some effects. And then all you need to do to save this pre-comp as a ready to use animation is just select it over here in the project panel, then go to File, Dependencies, Collect Files, then you need to save it, And then you need to make sure collect source files is set to for selected comps. That was why we clicked on the calendar over here. And then also make sure to check reduce project, because otherwise it's gonna save everything. So that way if you save it, you're gonna have that ready to use animation. And then all you need to do to bring that animation back to the project is just right click, import, file, and you just look for that file you saved. That way you get a pretty cool animation that you can use anytime you need. That's why I recommend to check out the editing script in the description for ready to use animations. And that being said, make sure to check out the video on the screen, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers guys.